A bizarre Bijan Robinson situation highlights the Week 7 NFL injury news for fantasy football. I'm Joe Dolan, and this is the Fantasy Points Morning Lineup for Monday, October 23rd, 2023. Now, any stats you hear in this program will be from the Fantasy Points data suite unless otherwise noted. The data suite is 75% off for the 2023 NFL season over at fantasypoints.com, where our content packages are already 50% discounted. And you can get an additional 25% on either NFL Standard or Premium with code GURIFIC25. Still time to work the waiver wire, folks. You can use that code and benefit. Now let's start with Bijan. The Falcons' star running back played just a handful of snaps and saw just a single carry for 3 yards in Atlanta's win over the Bucs on Sunday, with Tyler Algier and Cordarrelle Patterson handling the bulk of the work in the backfield. Now, for a while, it looked disciplinary or just bizarre game plan stuff because that's what Arthur Smith does, because Bijan wasn't on the injury report. It turns out Bijan was apparently dealing with a headache. Here is Bijan on the situation from AtlantaFalcons.com's Taryn Lack. Quote, the Fox broadcast reported at halftime Robinson was not feeling well, and the player himself confirmed he was dealing with a consistent headache in the locker room at Raymond James Stadium afterward. Quote from Bijan, it started last night. I was feeling weird. I woke up just completely out of it. I tried to take medicine so I could be good for the game, but my head was hurting. Bad. I didn't know what was going on. I tried to go in pregame, but then Coach Smith said, we'll be all right. Let's get you right. Here is the kicker. Robinson was not on any of Atlanta's injury reports leading up to Sunday's action. So that means Bijan was ill, but was not on the injury report, which should be illegal per the NFL's injury report rules. And furthering my read on this situation, that the Falcons know they probably should have put him on the report, is that Arthur Smith never once used the word, quote, sick or ill when describing Bijan's situation. He just said he, quote, wasn't himself and, quote, we'll know more tomorrow. Now, obviously, there are a lot of problems here. People who are going to be watching this are going to be mad about the fact that Bijan Robinson basically put up a goose egg in their fantasy lineups. There's also going to be people who are mad that they placed bets on Bijan Robinson or maybe did a DFS contest with Bijan Robinson. There's going to be books who are going to be upset with this because customers are demanding that they refund their Bijan Robinson bets because, well, he wasn't on the injury report. And quite frankly, with the NFL tied up in gambling as much as it is, you're going to get 100 DraftKings commercials every time you turn on an NFL game. You're going to get DFS commercials. You're going to get fantasy commercials. You're going to get FanDuel commercials. You're going to get it all. And all of these partners, basically, there's an understanding that information is going to be available. That's why the injury report exists in the first place. And this wasn't something, according to Bijan Robinson himself, that popped up right before the game in warmups. This was something the Falcons knew about last night. This was something the Falcons knew about this morning. And therefore, he should have been on the injury report. So I expect the Falcons to be disciplined by the NFL for this if there is a process to discipline them. It's a frustrating situation from fantasy, and the fact that fantasy football's most frustrating coach being at the center of it is what makes it all the more infuriating. Were you screwed by the Falcons failing to put Bijan Robinson on the injury report? Let me know. And how do you think the NFL should handle this going forward? Next up, the Deshaun Watson saga takes another turn. The Browns' franchise quarterback completed just 1 of 5 passes for 5 yards and an interception in his return from a shoulder injury before leaving Sunday's action to get checked for a concussion after a hard hit with 3:13 left in the first quarter against the Colts. But Cleveland, curiously, did not make any injury announcement on Watson for the rest of the game, other than that Watson cleared concussion protocol, which was evident because he still had his helmet on the sidelines. Now, in his post-game press conference, Coach Kevin Stefanski told reporters that it was his decision and his decision alone not to put Watson back in the game, instead rolling with P.J. Walker. Quote, I just felt like I wanted to protect him. I did not want to see him get hit, Stefanski told reporters. Quote, he was hit hard and I know he cleared all that, but I just felt I've got to protect him. Now, Stefanski was, of course, vindicated because the Browns pulled out an intense 39-38 victory over the Colts, not without some referee help. Now, Stefanski added that Watson should start in Week 8, but this is obviously a problematic situation, and the fact that Stefanski has to be asked whether or not Watson will start going forward is a mess. It's not like Walker has lit the world on fire, but Watson was close to throwing his second pick on just 5 attempts on the play in which he got injured. Watson providing the Browns with a decent return on their massive investment in him looks more unlikely by the week. When it comes to fantasy football, I don't think you can have any confidence whatsoever in this offense because, PJ Walker came in and Amari Cooper didn't do anything. So it's just a mess right now in Cleveland, and they're wasting a pretty good defense, though, a defense that Gardner Minshew had no problem shredding on Sunday. Also, perhaps the best fantasy asset on that team, running back Jerome Ford, left the contest in the second half with a leg injury and didn't return. Kareem Hunt and Pierre Strong, come on down. Now let's get a quick Monday night preview in because the 49ers will have one star fantasy asset, but not another. Christian McCaffrey will play tonight per Fox's Jay Glazer, though he's dealing with, quote, a slight little tear in his oblique, which sounds painful. Now, Glazer said CMC's role will be somewhat the same, but this certainly could mean more run for Jordan Mason and Elijah Mitchell, with the 49ers pretty heavy favorites against the Vikings. Meanwhile, 49ers head coach Kyle Shanahan told reporters that star wide receiver Deebo Samuel is dealing with a hairline fracture in his injured shoulder and will be out for the next 2 games heading into the team's Week 9 bye. He is not being put on injured reserve, so it looks like he could be back in Week 10, but it is something to monitor, obviously, for Deebo. Meanwhile, you fire up Brandon Ayuk every week. Jawan Jennings and Ray McLeod could be options if you're desperate, and believe me, I was desperate in some leagues this week, but I also wonder if Ronnie Bell will be active in Deebo Samuel's role. We saw him play a little bit earlier in the season when Deebo and Brandon Ayuk have been injured, so something to monitor. This is obviously going to be a tougher situation for Brock Purdy, though, because left tackle Trent Williams is doubtful with an ankle injury. Thanks for joining me for a frustrating edition of the Fantasy Points Morning Lineup. Remember to subscribe to the channel. Hit that like button for more fantasy football content. You'll be glad you did. Comment if you enjoyed this video. Come catch me over in our Fantasy Points subscriber Discord with code GURIFIC25. I'll talk to you later this week, everyone.